Well, anyway, if you guys are there listening to what I am saying, and Luanka, can you hear me on the chat? You can hear me on YouTube. You can hear, right? Okay. Well, if you guys are listening to what I'm telling you, the first thing that you have to do is to find out what you want to do. And this is not what your father did. It's not what your older brother did. It's what you want to do. If you don't find that out, it's going to be very difficult for you to be successful. Success doesn't come from doing what somebody else did. It comes from doing what you want to do, where your passions are, where your interests are, and things like that. Now, the way that we help students with that is we do a career assessment. It takes about 25 minutes. You can do it online. You can contact me, or you can visit with me when I'm in Sri Lanka. But the first step is for you guys to find out what you should be doing. And you need professional help for that. People like your older brother and your father, your parents, people that care about you a lot, they probably don't have very much knowledge about today the careers that are available to you and what the careers are going to be like in the future. So you need to get this advice in terms of what you should be doing. The second thing after that is you have to look at different careers. You have to take a look at what the jobs are out there. One career site that I looked at alone listed over 27,000 different careers. So when I talk to students and I ask students what they want to do, I get an answer like business. That is a very bad answer. Business has hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different aspects to it. You need to decide exactly what you want to do. So people say, well, I want to do banking or accounting. Well, that's not enough either. If you look at banking, you can go into retail banking, you can go into corporate banking, international banking. So you really have to get a proper assessment done of yourself so that you know what you should be doing. So the first step, find out about yourself. Then the second step is to find out about employers. And we can assist you with that as well, guide you in terms of doing your online research. And this is not something that you should spend 10 minutes on. This is something that you should spend a great deal of time on because it's the rest of your life. And you're going to be working for a long time, unless you come from a very wealthy family. You're going to be working for a very long time, and you have to plan that future. Right now, most of you have no idea what that means because you have a ATM machine at home, your father. You just go home and you start pushing buttons and money comes out. You don't even need to have a PIN number. Your parents just take care of everything. That is going to be a huge change in the future when your parents are not around. And you're going to have to take care of yourself and maybe take care of other people as well. So you've got to plan this very well. So first thing, find out about yourself. Second thing, find out about careers, and then find out about employers. Now, some of you want to do very well, so you look at working overseas. And as I said earlier on in the chat, connecting to the global economy is a very, very good idea. But you don't have to go overseas to do that. You can do that in Sri Lanka. The American Chamber of Commerce in Sri Lanka has around 400 members. And these are American companies in Sri Lanka. They're Sri Lankan companies that work with the U.S. So you can actually build a global career without leaving home. You can work with companies like that. However, if you choose to do so, you can also work overseas, but sometimes that's not as good an option as some people think. Someone that I know, a Sri Lankan, did his MBA in finance in Australia. And after working on his MBA for a year and a half and spending a great deal of money, he went out and applied for jobs. And after 6 months, the only job he could get was pumping petrol at a petrol kiosk. That's what he got with his MBA. So you need to be very careful about selecting your destination and what you hear from people and things like that. Many people that advise you on things really don't know what they're talking about. I have a lot of people that talk to me about the U.S., they'd love to go to the U.S., and they say there are no visas. That is a very wrong story. Last year, there were close to 1.5 million students in the U.S. with student visas. 1.5 million. So you just need, for a student that wants to study there, you just need one visa. You don't need 1.5 million. So the opportunities are there when you take a look at going abroad and building your future, either for a short period of time or a longer period of time. The opportunities are there, but you need to learn about these things, and it requires you to do some advanced planning and a great deal of research, which we can help you with. So you have to find out about yourself, you have to find out about careers, and you've got to find out about employers. Now, when I meet students in Singapore, I can ask the student, you know, what company do you want to work for when you get finished? What do you want to do? And an O-level student in Singapore will tell me 5 companies he or she wants to work for, how much money they want to earn the first year, what they're going to be doing after 5 years. They have a plan, and this is at O-level. I meet university students graduating in Sri Lanka, and I ask them, who do you want to work for? What are you going to be doing in 5 years? And all I get is, I don't know. That's a very big difference between a lot of students in Sri Lanka and students in other countries. You need to be able to say who you want to work for, where you want to work, what you want to do, and what your plans are. If you don't know those things, you're going to have a very difficult time becoming successful. So these are all things that we do help you with. Okay, I got a typed question. I'm going to stop talking and reply to this. Oops.
Hi, Dan.
Yeah, hi.
Yeah, then you can talk about you can reply on public. You can speak.
Okay, just give me a minute.
Yeah.
Okay. On that internship question, sorry, I was typing the answer to you. On that internship question, yes, we do include practical activities in our program in Sri Lanka as well as overseas. In fact, our MBA students in the U.S. are required to work. We have students that are earning up to $4,000 a month. Now, your internship in Sri Lanka at undergraduate level is not going to be like that. You're not going to earn like you would if you were overseas. But the internship will give you valuable experience so that when you go for your job, you're going to have the experience that you picked up through the internship program. Now, in addition to that, we also involve students in business activities. So not only in Sri Lanka, but every year we will be taking students on a regional business trip. And this business trip will be planned by the students, and the idea will be to connect with companies. In the first year, our focus will be on Malaysia. So what we'll be doing is to schedule a 4 to 5 day trip to Malaysia, where I'll work with the students and they will contact companies, they will arrange appointments, and when we're here, have a chance for the students to meet those companies, to meet people there, to find out what they do, and get some not only experience in Sri Lanka, but also to get some international experience. And the degree program in Sri Lanka is with my university in the U.S. It's Cleary University. We were founded in 1883. We're a very, very old, well-established school. And we do have a study abroad experience, so that we will be, it's voluntary, all students don't have to do this, but students will be able to go to the U.S. For a short period of time, perhaps do a short intensive course there, and maybe get some experience in the U.S. as well. So whether it's in Sri Lanka or regionally or internationally, yes, we try and encourage this experience component. But the internship part at the bachelor degree is in Sri Lanka, not overseas. Okay, any other questions? Now, in the longer term, you have to take a look at where you want to be. So, as I said, a lot of students look at the U.S. Every year we have over 40,000 international students from the UK, Australia, and Canada come to the U.S. to study. And that's funny, because a lot of you guys in Sri Lanka will go to Australia, you will go to Canada, you will go to the UK, but those countries send some of their best students to us. So we have over 40,000 students every year from Australia, Canada, and the UK. So one of the advantages for this is that when students study in the U.S., if you're there for at least 1 year as part of your program, you can extend your visa after you graduate to stay back and work. That's called optional practical training. Now, I just got a question. If I want to transfer to the USA, how can I go? Well, if you're studying with us, you will work with me. The couple options that you have is you can transfer before you finish your bachelor's degree. So let's say that you do 2 years, and then you want to transfer to the U.S. That's a possibility. Or you can finish your degree and transfer for your MBA. Now, that is actually a superior option, because you're going to find that your visa at the MBA level will be easier, and our MBA course actually has a work experience component. So that means that students can work while they study. Now, you cannot do that at undergraduate level, at bachelor level, except if you get a part-time job on campus, but that would be working in the cafeteria or working in IT support service or the library, something like that. It's not like a real job, it's a junior type position. But after you graduate, if you are doing your bachelor's degree or your MBA, you can do what's called optional practical training. So once you get done, if you've been in the U.S. for at least 1 year, you can extend your visa and stay back and work. Now, if you go for your MBA with us, there's something called curricular practical training, CPT, not OPT, but CPT. Our MBA students are required to work while they study. So a very good option for Sri Lankan students and their families is to finish your bachelor's degree in Sri Lanka, finish our bachelor's degree in business, and then come to us for your MBA. After your first semester, it takes your first semester to settle in and do your job searching, go for interviews and stuff like that. Starting in the second semester, you can work, and after you get done with that, after you finish your MBA, you can further extend your visa if the company wishes to sponsor you. Just another question came in. I want to finish my degree in Sri Lanka and work in America without MBA. Nope, not going to happen. I think if that were allowed to happen, Sri Lanka and many other countries would be empty. It's going to be very hard for anybody to get a work permit to go to the U.S. It's very, very difficult to do that. The easiest path is through your MBA program. That's about all I can say about that. It's just like any country, it's going to be very hard for you just to pack up and move there. But if you go and do your part of your education there, then it's easy for you to extend and stay on. And besides, with an MBA, you're going to be a much more attractive employee, particularly if you have experience in the U.S. But if you finish your bachelor's degree and that's not a very high level of qualification in the U.S. for jobs. So usually what students will do is they will, say for example, they do their undergraduate degree maybe in computing. So what they will do then is most students think, well, okay, I've done my bachelor's degree in IT, so I'm going to go and do my MSc in IT and become a better programmer. That's not a good move. Reason being is that people in management in IT and computing earn much more than well-qualified programmers. Out of the top 15 highest paying computer careers in the U.S., 14 are related to business. The 15th one is related to law. It's a legal representative for the computer industry. But the other top 14 highest paying jobs are not technical in nature. They're business in nature. You take a look at people like Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, people that you know that have run computer companies, they make more than their top programmers. Why? They're the boss. So when you take a look at different career fields, the management or the leadership qualification is very important to getting ahead. In medicine, for example, a lot of people think being a doctor is the best thing that you can do, and it's actually in the U.S. very, very well paid. If you're a neurosurgeon working in New York, you can earn $900,000 a year, pretty close to $1 million as a doctor. However, you're talking at least 8 to 10 years of training. But if you do your healthcare business program, you can end up going into hospital administration and earning up to $6 million a year, more than the neurosurgeon. The people that run the hospitals, the boss, is going to earn more than the doctors that work there. So when you take a look at this, what I am telling you about planning your future, you need to think this through. And I lived in Sri Lanka for 10 years in Rajagiri at Royal Park. So I know a lot of people, done a lot of things there. And you guys are not aware of the situation. You're simply not aware. I told you earlier about this friend of mine that went to Australia and did his MBA in banking and finance, thought he was going to have a fantastic future there. Got done with his MBA in banking and finance. The only job he could get was pumping petrol in Sydney. He ended up coming back to Sri Lanka, spent all that money, pumped a few liters of petrol, came home. He didn't do any planning, didn't do any research. So if you really want to get your future organized, you've got to, as I said, you've got to first of all find out about yourself, because if you get into a career field that you're not passionate about, employers are going to know that, you're not going to get promoted. Secondly, you've got to find out about careers, and you have to find out about employers and destinations. Now, question here about, can you start without your A-levels? The answer to that is yes. The reason for that is that if you look at the British system, where A-levels come from, and you have that system because you're a former colony, you follow that system, you have O-levels. O-levels is comes before your A-levels. Your A-level is 13 years of education. Your O-level is 11 years. In America, the high school diploma is 12 years, right in between O-level and A-level. So for that reason, we allow students with their O-levels to start their university degree. So you don't have to do your A-levels. Probably about 80%, 85% of American universities will accept students starting with their O-levels. So if you start the AUP program in Sri Lanka, you can start with your O-levels. Now, if you've done your A-levels, say you've done the commerce stream, for example, you will get credit for some of your subjects. Under normal circumstances, if you've done commerce and you've done accounting, economics, like that, you will get credit for 1 year of university accounting, and you'll get credit for a couple university subjects in economics, maybe macroeconomics and microeconomics. So doing your A-levels will have that benefit. The difficulty with doing your, not the difficulty, but a problem with the A-levels is that you guys, and you really have my sympathy, you can study for 2 years. You can work really hard, and if you fail the exams, you get nothing out of that. And so that can be up to 2 years wasted. So you need to think seriously about whether or not the A-levels are worth it. Just got another question. I just finished my O-levels. Can I study part-time while doing my A-levels? We're working on a schedule. We're not going to be doing this right now, but we are working on a schedule where students will be able to take weekend classes, and that could be done in conjunction with your A-levels. You need to ask yourself, though, why you would want to do your A-levels. If you're going to be doing your A-levels, you should have a good reason for it, because it's another 2 years. It's a lot of work. Your parents are going to force you to go to 1 million revision classes, and those things are terrible. And it's really bad in Sri Lanka. You guys go to school all day, then you get done and you go to revision classes to do what you should have done during the day. I don't understand that. If you were getting proper education during the day, you wouldn't have to do all those extra classes. So if you're going to be doing the A-levels, you better be prepared to do a lot of work outside of class. And as I said, you really don't need that. Even with the British universities now, and the A-levels and O-levels are a British thing, even the British universities offer things like foundation years instead of their A-levels. So they recognize that as well. There is no need to do your A-levels. You can start your American degree immediately with your O-levels, but if there's a reason that you want to do your A-levels, then of course you might want to tell me that, and I can let you know whether or not that's a good idea or not. Okay? Any other questions? I already have finished my O-levels and foundation in accounting from ACBT. Can I start my diploma in the American degree program? Yes, you can. I'll need to see your results. Best thing would be for you to email them to me through the school. I think you would have, actually I'll type my email address here so you can send them. I've got 2 email addresses. You should send them to both, as sometimes one of the servers don't work. Let me just give you my email addresses. First one is there, dkelch@cleary.edu. And the next one is my backup email. kelchtravel@yahoo.com. So what you can do is to send me your transcripts. Let me have a look at those, and then I can respond to you what your options might be. Now, you mentioned that you did your foundation in accounting. Are you sure that you want to do accounting for your future? Because a lot of people that do accounting, accounting is a technical job. It's like you're going to be doing the same thing pretty much every day for the rest of your life. You're going to be sitting it's not going to be like Charles Dickens used to write about in the UK, where you sit in a back room and with a big book, writing small numbers in all day long. But it is going to be a very repetitive job. If you're looking at accounting, you should also look at things like banking, finance, other areas like that. You know, if you get into corporate banking, you could find yourself in Hong Kong or Singapore doing billion-dollar deals. It can be a very exciting life. But if you're in the accounting area, you won't have so much of that. Yeah, okay, I just replied, work in finance. That's a good choice. Now, finance is different. People, a lot of times, they don't know the difference. You know, they talk about accounting, you've got banking, you've got finance, and you've got economics. Now, economics is something different. It's usually a very high-level analytical thing for governments. Economists work for governments and huge companies. They will just take a look at global trends and things like that. The finance and the banking side, they're the ones that do a lot of the corporate work related to the money market. And the accountants are the ones that manage the money on a day-to-day basis. You take care of the accounts. Whereas the people in the banking and the finance side will be those that more or less decide the business deals and things like that. Banking and finance is a very, very good field. But with your accounting background, you've done accounting already, your foundation, that's okay, because accounting will help you understand finance. The fact that you've done, I assume your foundation was about a year, so the fact that you've done a foundation in accounting, that will help you understand the banking and the finance side. But there's no need for you to continue on in the accounting area, unless you want to work at the operational level, the technical level. That's what the accountants will do. They're the soldiers. They're the ones that do the day-to-day heavy lifting and keep track of all the books and stuff like that. The finance people, the banking people, are the ones that make the big decisions. Any other anybody want to type any? I think it's better to answer your questions. Any other questions you'd like me to answer? The finance area, the banking area, is an extremely good field. Our program in Sri Lanka has 8 specializations, and one of them is in the accounting and finance area, because those two things work together. As I said, if you have a basic understanding of accounting, it's going to make finance and banking that much easier. How much money to show to get your American visa? Well, there's one answer to that. The more money you have, the better. You will never be rejected. The visa officer is never going to say, hey, you got too much money, stay home. It's like some students think you need to have a magic number. It's not like that. And this is one of the ways that you guys have got to change your thinking. It's not a light switch, like a light switch on and off. It's not like that. It's like a dimmer. You have a dimmer where you turn it and the light gets brighter and brighter and brighter. Your visa chances are the same way. It's not like on and off. The more money you have, the brighter your visa chances will be. Now, that will depend on the school that you select and your living expenses and things like that, because some people, they think about their tuition, but they forget that they have to eat. You don't eat for 2 years, it's going to be a problem. So you need to have, and that will depend on where you go. It's kind of like in Sri Lanka. If you live in certain parts of Colombo, it's going to be more expensive, living expenses, than if you live in other parts. Do you need IELTS? Actually, IELTS or TOEFL. TOEFL is the American equivalent of IELTS. Now, the answer to that is yes and no. Let me explain why you got 2 answers. First of all, most universities, if you have studied, say if you've done the AUP program or another program in English, in the English medium, then you can transfer as an undergraduate, or you can even come into our MBA program without IELTS or TOEFL, so long as you have finished your first degree in English, completely in English, and you get a letter from the school, then you can go into your MBA without IELTS or TOEFL. If you're a transfer student, normally if you've done 2 years in the English medium, then the school in the U.S. will accept you without IELTS or TOEFL. So that is where you don't need it. However, when you go to your visa, interview, and this is, I advise all my students, and my visa success rate is over 90%. And the 10% that usually don't get their visas are the ones that don't listen. I actually had a student once, I told him exactly what to do. He went in, and I talked to him after his visa interview, and he got rejected. And I said, well, what's wrong? And he said, well, my friend told me to do something different. So now can you help me again? I said, no, go and talk to your friend. He's the one that screwed you up, so go and get him to fix your problem. If you listen to what I tell you to do, your chances for getting a visa are going to be very good. Now, getting back to the IELTS and TOEFL question, you do not, the university can accept you, like my university, for example, we will accept you without IELTS or TOEFL as an MBA student if you've done your first degree in English, or as an undergraduate transfer student if you've done at least 2 years in English. However, when you meet the visa officer will be very, very impressed with you if you've done IELTS or TOEFL. And the reason for that is it shows you're more of a serious student. And unfortunately, a lot of Sri Lankan students do not like to take another test, and even worse, they don't want to spend 1 rupee. So when you take IELTS or TOEFL, you have to pay for the exam. So a lot of students don't want to do that, so they don't take it, and it weakens their visa chances. So my advice to you is to, even though we would accept you without IELTS or TOEFL, you're going to be better advised to take it in terms of having it for your visa interview. Another question. I have completed my degree in mechanical engineering from SLIT, and I like to start my MBA. That's actually a very, very good choice. Some people think, if you send me an email, I'll send you a couple articles from engineers that advise students to do their MBA rather than going on and doing more engineering. Reason being is that if you want to do more engineering or more IT or anything like that, you're going to hit a ceiling. You're only going to be able to go so far. So if you take your engineering degree, your IT degree, anything like that, and you add to that management, then you can move into the management of the company. So you can go to an engineering company, you can start out by being the manager of the engineering department, and then move out of that and move into the general corporate structure. Now, can I apply for a grant or a scholarship for an MBA in research? Well, first of all, MBAs don't really do research. This is not a research field. Your MBA is about making money. Now, normally medicine, biotechnology, a lot of those areas are really heavy in technical knowledge, and there's a lot of research to be done. You know, you talk about the human anatomy and conducting operations and things like that, and researching germs and all that. You need to do a lot of research. In business, you don't do that. You look at Bill Gates, you look at Steve Jobs and people like that in the engineering side, the technical side of business, and they applied the business skills to the basic knowledge that they had. So you will not find research grants in business unless if you go into some areas like economics. But as I said, those are not normal jobs that people would do. Now, for us, regarding that income thing, as I told you, if you were to come to my university for your MBA, you have to work. Now, I can't show you here, but I have one girl from India. She's earning $4,000 a month, $4,000 a month while she's studying. Now, her tuition is $1,400 a month. We allow students to make monthly payments because that's normally how they get paid when they work. So she's earning $4,000 a month. Her tuition is $1,400. So she makes $2,600 profit, and that is ample money to cover her living expenses and buy a new car. So with us, what we do is we prepare you to earn your way. We do not give scholarships. Why should we give you a scholarship when you have the opportunity to work? Business is like that. Business is not charity. Business is you building your future, and that's why we've incorporated the work component into our MBA. You have to learn responsibility. So the course fee, as you asked about, is $1,400 per month. Most students will pay monthly. Now that sounds like a lot, but our average student would be earning, if they work, if you look at it on an hourly basis, they would be earning somewhere between $20 and $25 per hour. The Indian girl that I mentioned to you at $4,000 a month, she was one of our top earners. The average student might earn $20 to $25 per hour. So let's say that you're working 30 hours a week, and let's take $20 an hour. That's going to give you $600 per week times 4 weeks in a month. That's $2,400. So when you look at the year, it's actually more than 4 weeks in most months, a little bit more. So you would actually earn around $2,600 a month, which is sufficient to cover your tuition, and if you're lucky, your living expenses. But the other thing you have to learn about going overseas is you have to manage your budget. And unfortunately, many parents, many students, you guys end up going abroad and you end up taking care of yourself, and you've never done that in Sri Lanka. And I ask parents all the time, when was the last time your child paid the electricity bill? When was the last time they paid the phone bill? When was the last time they went food shopping? Oh, they never do that. We do that. Well, how do you expect them to do it overseas if they can't do it in their home country? So what I do with you before you go is I help prepare you and get you ready for American life as well as your studies. So basically, if you follow my instructions, and we do a lot of career coaching for students so that they're well prepared to seek out a good quality job. And the American economy it's the best it's been in over 50 years. Just go online and have a look. America's biggest economic problem right now is a shortage of workers. And some companies, what they do, they have these programs I see in Sri Lanka all the time. I'm sure you've seen them at schools. It's bring in a student, we'll give you 1,000 rupees or something. In America, companies are doing that. If you work at some companies, they will pay you $1,000 to bring in someone else that can work there. They're that short of people. So you ask, how you can meet me. Best thing is to send me an email. Did you get my 2 email addresses, the DKelch and the Kelch Travel? I put those up before. Just send me an email. I'll also put my WhatsApp in here so you can. I spend a lot of time at our regional office here in Malaysia, so this is a number for my WhatsApp, my international number, 60102571346. 60102571346. That's my WhatsApp number. So you can send me a text there. And I'm going to actually be in Sri Lanka next month. And you can meet me at AUP, find out about that program, find out about my university. And I'm going to be conducting a session at the American Embassy with, it's about a 1-hour session on how to make yourself successful. There are a lot of worksheets to do, a lot of things that you have to prepare. It's how to do job interviews, it's how to do job searching, it's how to do follow-up. All of these different things, networking, I'm not talking about Facebook, that's stupid. Talking about professional networking, how to build a professional LinkedIn profile. And there are probably 30 to 40 social media tools that are ideal for students that want to build their futures. Facebook is great for talking to your friends, but it's not going to help you get a job. So I'm going to be conducting a session at the American Embassy on this. So send me an email or send me a WhatsApp text and I'll stay in touch with you. And tell your friends about this too. They can come over and meet me at AUP or join my seminar and be happy to give you the advice you need. That's next month, be toward the end of the month. I think maybe around the 20th to the 22nd of June I'll be there. But stay in touch with me and I'll let you know when the seminar is. Any other questions? The kind of things that I talk to you about, I don't waste time. And I'm very blunt about this. You guys have a lot to learn in terms of getting international jobs. And as I said, when I lived in Sri Lanka, I lived at Royal Park, good family, a lot of money in that building, and a lot of the students, after studying overseas, Australia or UK or the US, they came back without jobs. And it's not that they didn't have the education, but they didn't have the social skills to get a job. I talked to one boy, well, my neighbor actually, I knew his parents very well. And I asked him what his problem was. I asked him about, great amount of detail. And it came out that whenever he went to a job interview, he kept interrupting the interviewer. The interviewer would say something, the boy would answer the question, then the interviewer would start to say something else, and the student, the graduate, would just interrupt. You cannot do things like that. After a job interview, I've interviewed hundreds of people for jobs in Sri Lanka and other areas in Asia. And out of the hundreds of people that I've interviewed, I've got one thank you note. One. Now in America, if you don't write a thank you note or a thank you email after the job interview, forget it. It's rude. It's impolite. It is inconsiderate. So you need to learn things like that. And this is what none of the programs that I've seen in Sri Lanka or other places in the region, none of them teach you these things. They may have the education, they teach the formulas for class and things like that, but they don't teach you how to communicate. They don't teach you about job interviews. Things like a lot of students, spelling mistakes in resumes. You do have one spelling mistake, forget it. And every job that you apply for needs to have a different resume. And students say, well, why is that? I'm the same person. Yes, you are, but the job is not the same. Jobs come from somewhere. A job posting, an advertisement, something like that. Now, that job posting or that advertisement will have key words on what the employer wants. Now, when you submit your resume, over 80% of resumes in the U.S. now are read by a computer before they ever reach a person. And if your resume does not have the keywords that was in the job posting or the ad, you will not get by the computer. You'll be dumped by the machine. That's AI, that's artificial intelligence for you. They will look for these things, and the computer doesn't, not kind, you'll be cut. So every resume that you submit for every job should be unique. It should be tailor-made for that job, taking into account all the different information that you have on that job. And you should research the company as well. I've interviewed people in Sri Lanka, and one of my first questions is, when was the last time you looked at our website? I didn't look at your website. Okay, well, you're not hired, get out. That's it, end of story. You need to know as much about the company as possible before you go in. It's like a military campaign. You have to do your intelligence. You've got to do your work so that you know about the company. And students ask me, well, what can I do? Of course, you can go online. You can look at the books and stuff like that that's available for company records and so on. But something else that you should do is find the closest Starbucks or Coffee Bean to the office that you're going and go there and sit around during a lunchtime or a coffee break. Listen to what people are talking about that company. And you're going to find out a lot of information that will help you understand that company and it will impress the interviewer. Now, some people say that, well, you know, jobs, you know, international students don't get jobs. Well, let me tell you that year before last, Amazon, one company, hired almost 2,000 international student CPT that were doing their curricular practical training. Almost 2,000. It was 1,800 and something. The jobs are there, so you just have to know what to do. Okay, I think I can see that everybody's gone, so I'm going to probably... Are you there, Lanka? Are you there?
Yeah, right.
Okay, I think everybody's gone, and it's now
Yeah.
12:30, so I think we're going to close this. It's-
Just a minute. There's just one person from the website. Yeah. But there are no further questions.
Okay, good. Well, that's
We
it.
can wrap it up.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for your help.
Yep.
Okay, good night.